What is up, guys? Welcome back to Mainly Movies, the channel where we talk about, well, mainly movies. First of all, I want to apologise about the noise in the background. My neighbours are just deciding to listen to music right now. So today I'm going to be reviewing Dr. Sleep, which is directed by Mike Flanagan and stars Ewan McGregor and Rebecca Ferguson. Dr. Sleep is about a much older Danny Torrance who is now struggling with alcoholism. When he finds out about a girl named Abra with the same abilities, he begins to help her when darkness follows. So I actually went to see this movie last Saturday and I was going to review it, but I got about halfway through it due to some issues which I won't address. But anyway, I saw it again today fully. It's a 2.5 hour long film and it's pretty good. So like I said, this is pretty much a sequel to The Shining. So yeah. So just like my half spoiler free reviews, I'm going to put a time code and you can skip to the non-spoiler ending verdict of the video, because I feel like there's a lot to kind of spoil with this film. But anyway, I'll get into the spoiler-free positives first. And there are a lot of positives because I really enjoyed this film. Ewan McGregor was really good as Danny Torrance. They recreated the scenes from The Shining brilliantly. I thought that the actors who were portraying the actors in the original movie did a really good job. The woman playing Shelley Duvall's character was pretty good. The kid that played a younger Doc is really good as well. The only kind of issue is later on you get to see a much different looking Jack Torrance. The shots are really good. Mike Flanagan directed this movie brilliantly. The cinematographer did a great job, and just the actual direction of the movie itself was really good. Now, this movie does feel a bit different from The Shining, and that's good. It's nowhere near as good as the original Shining. If you saw my review, I gave it a 10 out of 10 because I really, really enjoy The Shining. This movie, you can watch The Shining and this movie back to back. I can see people doing that. But I can see people also watching this movie as its own. So I kind of struggle to call it a sequel, but I also struggle to see how you can watch this movie without not knowing what happens in The Shining, because there are a lot of references and events that occur in this movie that kind of flash back to the original movie. But overall it has a new and fresh plot, and the movie doesn't really, it still kind of keeps The Shining itself ambiguous, but it still establishes some of the abilities and the fantasy aspects of this kind of universe. So I kind of enjoyed that. Anyway, the time code's right here. If you want to skip to my final verdict, please do, because this is a complete spoiler area. But if you've seen the movie, well, let's kind of get into the spoilers, which is also my negatives. So the first negative I have with the film is that there's a bit of a tone shift about halfway through the movie. The second act of this movie, don't get me wrong, is really good. Usually I say the second act's a bit slow. The second act in this movie is phenomenal. I really like the second act. I just feel like there's a certain part in this movie where it splits in the middle, and that's when they go to the Overlook Hotel. So basically the first half of this movie I can see as a grounded sort of psychological thriller, whereas the last half gets really kind of fantasy and throws a lot of The Shining stuff in your face. I didn't mind it. It was enjoyable, the Overlook stuff, and seeing how they recreated it and how they tied it in with this film. But in a way, it's just the fact that the movie feels like two different films. It feels like it's split in half. Another negative, which is my only other negative, which is good because the movie I really enjoyed. The only other negative of this movie, and it's not really the movie itself, it's what the movie does. It makes The Shining seem a little less scary now. It makes it a bit more fantasy and a kind of world-creating movie. And in a way, when I watched The Shining before I'd seen this movie, I looked at it as a kind of a grounded psychological thriller about a man who, you know, struggles to write and struggles to keep his family because of alcohol abuse and things like that, and he ends up going insane and trying to kill his family. But this movie, because it expands on that universe, I will now watch the first movie and I won't look at it the same way, which is kind of disappointing. I'm not saying that this movie brings it down. I still love The Shining. It's one of my favourite horror movies, but this movie kind of makes it seem a little... I look at it differently now. But like I said, the last act of the film is set in the Overlook Hotel. They do the whole him at the bar talking to Lloyd, who is actually meant to be Jack Torrance. And I really liked that. That scene was good. The only thing is I wish, and this is what I said with my friend Dylan, who was on, isn't really that bad, but basically we went to see it, and this is what Dylan said, that he kind of wished that you didn't see him, and I kind of agree. I wish you didn't see him. I wish it was just like the hand pouring the drink, and they kind of left it a bit open. It sounds like him. It sounds like Lloyd, but he's talking to him as his father. It would have made it a bit more subtle than what we were actually shown. But we also see like recreations as well, and the axe, and with the axe running through the corridors. So that stuff was cool. But also the new stuff in the movie with Jacob Tremblay's cameo in the film, that he ends up getting brutally murdered. That scene was pretty off the rails, as well as at the start when they abduct like a kid, and because there's like a group who are like the evil group, and Rebecca Ferguson is she plays Rose, and she's like the leader of this group, and basically they kill children or kill people with the Shining, but they usually do it when they're younger, so they can get more of this steam which comes out of their body when they die. That's never really explained. There's a few things that are never really explained, but I kind of like that because it reminds me of The Shining. The Shining never actually explained a lot of things, and it did it in a good way. It's not like we needed to know it. We just can know it if we wanted to look into it more, but, you know. Anyway, that's really all I need to say about the spoilers. I enjoyed the film. It was really, really good. I can watch this back to back with The Shining, but I can also watch it just by itself. Everyone did a really good job. Mike Flanagan did a really good job directing it. I liked Gerald's Game, but that was the only thing of his I've seen. I think he did The Haunting of Hill House, and he did a movie called Oculus, which I heard is really good. I haven't seen those, but I've seen Gerald's Game, and that was a very, very good thriller movie. So yeah, and this movie I do kind of struggle to call it a horror film, as well as the original Shining. I struggle to call them a horror film. It's more of like a psychological thriller. So yeah, I do kind of struggle to call this a horror film. I just think it's a psychological thriller, basically. So anyway, my final verdict: do I recommend the movie? I do recommend the movie, especially if you're a fan of The Shining. I reckon you can appreciate this film. Mike Flanagan did a good job. When I did my trailer review for the movie, I said that whoever's directing this has to have some big-ass balls. Obviously, Mike Flanagan did have some big-ass balls, but I feel like he did a very, very good job and didn't try to do anything too complicated. He didn't try to match the style of the original that Kubrick created, because I feel like that's Kubrick's iconic style, whereas this film, Mike Flanagan kind of uses his own style, but still uses that Kubrick element as well, which I liked. Which is why I'm going to give Dr. Sleep an 8 out of 10. So guys, thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. So stay tuned, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.